I'm gonna go off for a sec. Is that all right?
Go ahead.
There are a certain group of people that fundamentally do not understand about the law of reciprocity. These are takers. These are leeches. We've had them in every community that we've built. I've had them in every friend group that I've ever had in my life, every family group. There's always that one. Let me tell you something about these people.
And this is why I feel so passionately about this right now, because I realize over the last 2 months where my consciousness and the limits in my own energy is creating what is coming to me. It's undeniable at this point that our limits in our own consciousness, our fear, our overwhelm will keep you capped.
So if you're starting from square one, where there's very little love we have for ourselves, and therefore we're attracting people that are showing us very little love, to get from that place to a place where we are fully open-hearted and a place where we are fully loving every aspect of life. We have that zest, like you said. The vehicle to get from first place to second place, A to B, is boundaries.
If you're not going to be as passionate about these things, if you're not going to uphold your boundaries, if you're not going to be able to speak about what you want, what you desire with a fervor, nothing's going to happen. Like, that's what it comes down to.
Life won't be worth living.
Like, you're not going to like
excitement.
your life. You're going to hate your life, and everyone's going to walk all over you, and you're going to be resentful, and that's what happens. Welcome back to Listen Before Love. Oh my gosh, my mojo's a little off because it's been a second since we've been here. Hello.
I think, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, something like that?
Wow.
It's been a minute, like 2 months.
Gosh. Does it feel like 2 months?
A lot has happened in 2 months. It feels like 2 days and 2 years at the same time.
My gosh. Well, where do we begin on where we've been and why we haven't been hosting and posting our episodes? Because we were super, super consistent every week for a long time. And then we were just like, slow Homer fade into the bush. Goodbye, everyone. And now we're back. So where did we go, baby?
Well, we haven't really left the house that much.
Right.
So we've been in a place with a functioning studio the whole time. Not like we've been vacationing or we've been capable of doing it, but life has just been wild. It feels like you and I have just skyrocketed in so many different ways, in so many different aspects of life. And we just didn't make Listen Before Love that much of a priority. But now that I feel like so much of that has kind of recentered and we have a lot of things more in the maturation stage where it doesn't need our foundational attention like it needed to for so long, I feel just so excited for where we're taking everything when it comes to love, including Listen Before Love, including the many different communities and offers we have going forward. So it's going to be just the start of a new season, a new chapter, and I'm so excited for it.
Oh, me too. I am really excited to be sitting here. I feel like I missed it. I missed this. I missed all of you guys. I missed your DMs about certain episodes. Well, we've still been getting those, but oh my gosh, I just missed the beautiful opportunity to talk about love and relationships more than we already do, but recorded and in front of this beautiful studio. And I really missed it. For these last 8 weeks or whatever the heck it's been, I have taken like a recording hiatus in general. Like, I haven't recorded anything, I don't think, in this entire period. Cam is different than me here. I think he's recorded quite a bit. He's had clients over the house who have recorded their sessions, which is super cool. You do videos, but for some reason, I just said, see you guys later.
You said, peace out, Girl Scout.
I said, slow fade for a moment. I'm taking a bath.
You said, I'm going in my cave.
It was cave time.
And when she said, I'm taking a bath, this woman, when we first met, there's something unique about her. She will take 3 to 4, I think one time this past week, maybe a 6-hour-long bath.
He's telling the truth.
And I'm not saying that as if I'm complaining. I don't mind it at all. I make sure she has her water, her sparkling drink. She has her phone and the charger if necessary. She has everything she needs. But it has been a lot of bath time, a lot of restfulness, recovery, rejuvenation. It's been much needed, it feels. And I don't know about you, but I do know about you because we talk about this ad nauseum every single day. But I'd love to hear your perspective on this. we feel as if we're in kind of this hallway period, like I talk about all the time for my clients. And we're just at a different, unique level of this hallway period where we're shifting into a season where everything is just expanding and ascending so fast. And that's talking about our own personal development, our spiritual connection, our businesses. Everything is just like bing, 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 bing. That's how it's been this whole year.
Yeah.
Let alone the past handful of months that made us kind of sidetrack away from Listen Before Love. And I'd love to know, how have the past few months been for you, and what would you like to share with the audience?
Oh my gosh. So right when we sat down, I didn't know what we were going to talk about in this one. All I knew is I just wanted to speak freely and to share like a peek behind the curtain of an entrepreneurial couple. Like, what is it like to be out here doing the thing, creating things, running businesses, having employees, all of it. Like, I don't really see that many people talking about it super openly to the point where it's like you're literally in their living room and you hear every part of what they've been through. So that's what this episode, I think, is going to take shape to be. Like, we're going to bring you into where we went the last couple or 2 months and why we went there, how our priorities kind of shifted, the different journeys we went through in this period. We just want to like lay it all out there because maybe someone needs to hear this. And I know a lot of people who are attracted to this show are high performers who are looking for a relationship with somebody who wants to build a conscious empire, really. And that's what our relationship is as an entrepreneurial couple. And whether you're single and seeking that, or you're in a relationship that sounds like that, or you want it to move in that direction, maybe this can give you a little bit of a insider's scoop on what it's like, because it's really unique. And I think Cam and I play very distinct roles in the conscious empire of goodness and love, freedom, and all things sugar, spice, and everything nice of our businesses. And those roles, like, I don't think we've ever talked about in depth. So I'm excited to see what this one ends up being. But that is what I think the highlight will be. Like, take a peek behind the curtain of an entrepreneurial couple. So if that sounds good to y'all, let's go get on into it, because I think there's a lot to say. We could talk about this for a long time.
And it's literally my favorite topic in the world, probably.
That we've never talked about.
Of course. The one thing that makes us, I think, very different, and I think we're going to be leading a new wave of entrepreneurs, couple entrepreneurs, is the word conscious, like you said.
Yeah.
These are people that are fully embodied, tapped in to some extent, and make sure that everything they touch, everything they build is a net positive for humanity, that they're in deep service of others.
Yeah.
And when that's the case, one must also do what's necessary to serve themselves when needed. And it feels like that's a big reason why we took off so much time, was because we needed a season just to kind of relax. Life has been go, go, go for both of us for the far majority of our lives. But in particular, the last season of just so much happening, the buying a house, the quitting the job, the moving to Austin, all these other things where we just needed time to just decompress.
Yeah.
And what feels as if was kind of like a foundational stage, for realigning our priorities as a couple, the type of people we want to surround ourselves with, the ventures that are worth our time and energy, and most importantly, what it takes for ourselves in our personal lives when it comes to balance. How much do we want to work? What does that look like? With who? All these different things. I feel like we got a crash course of lessons over the past handful of months to get us very clear on who we are and who we are not.
Yes.
So that we know exactly what we need to do for ourselves to become the person necessary of building businesses, building communities that will make the change we know so desperately, so badly. And I say those words not from a place of scarcity, from a place of yearning for more, of wanting to change the world. And I, again, am just so grateful for the time we had. But it was definitely a whirlwind. Yeah. And I'd love for you to share how that was.
Jeez. Let's rewind the clock. So this would have been the middle of March. I think that's when our last recorded episode was out. Funny enough, it was our first episode in our home studio. And then we really bought a studio, recorded one episode, and said, see y'all later.
We are
Like, we're
crazy for
so
real.
funny.
Crazy for
Like,
real.
who are we? Who does that? Like, you think we record more, but for some reason it was like, the spirit says take a break. And then here we are. And like, I wouldn't change anything, but let's rewind the clock. So this is the middle of March. What was going on in the middle of March is that we were adding things onto our plate that were brand new. So let me be more specific. We launched multiple communities in this period of time. So from like January to February was like the building stage. So we had gotten onto this software called Mighty Networks, and I had never used it before, but I'm pretty tech adaptable. So I was able to like set it all up. We moved our Great Morning Gratitude community onto that platform as well. Why I'm getting so specific here is like, I just want to bring to life that like some of these things sound really easy, and then you get into the nitty gritty of doing them. And boy, was that harder than we thought. Was building online communities in a really high quality like way that you could feel the spirit of them, you could feel the love, you could feel the intentionality baked into every decision. There are so many little things you've got to do to launch something like that. And oh my gosh, what a crash course. Like in understanding a new tech platform that I had never used before, in utilizing all of the features and making decisions around like, what experience do we want to give people? What even is the offer? Like, what are we going to show up and do? What are we going to commit our time, energy, love, care to for the specific things that we're offering? It takes so much brain power, but also just body power, like a holistic sense of like, I'm going to put my whole self into this. But what is this? Like literally when you're
Where are we going? How does it work?
Yeah, you're creating this from scratch. And so the first 2 months of the year were all about like laying the foundation. We'd also hired a new team member, our first ever employee on High Vibe Ventures, which is our business name. And so that was a whole new set of challenges and excitement and opportunity because we'd never had an employee before. So that opened up a whole different world that Cam mostly navigated. He's a fantastic manager, fantastic just business owner. Like he's the business side of it. I'm more of like the heart and the soul, I would say, side of it, who takes a bath and then be like, yes, we should do this. Or like, no, we should not do. So that's more of my role. But don't get me wrong, I do a lot, but that's the role that we kind of set in stone. So we had a new employee that Cam was working closely with. As part of this, as we were getting off the ground, Cam was also coaching this employee as well. And so that was a unique dynamic that just felt right to us at the time. And I think it served both of you very well when it was happening. But I was laying the foundation for the communities, creating the offers. And then we decided, okay, we're going to commit to this weekly call in our communities, which we've had 10. Today will be the 11th of our calls. And I've really enjoyed it. That's what's funny is even though we weren't doing the podcast, we were doing so much, just not the podcast and not recording on my side. Like we are showing up, we're still hosting things. We've still hosted the walk every single week on Saturdays. We've hosted the gratitude calls every single day. And we've hosted these meetings for our communities. For me, it's True Love Club for high achieving women who want to find that juicy love or like really understand how to make their relationship feel amazing. And for Cam, it's True Brotherhood, which is for, I'd call it high powered men who want to find more alignment, find more excitement, feel their feelings, understand where they're at and where they want to go, hold themselves accountable. Am I hitting it pretty well?
That is spot on. Now you see why she does a lot of the copywriting for what we do with these businesses. I couldn't have said it better myself. Exactly. High powered. Oh man, I love it. I love it. And that was growing to a level that we really enjoyed for both of us.
Yeah.
And recently, and this is a very new realization for us, we realized that where we had our priorities in the past were great and can over time be very self-sufficient and still make an impact. But honestly, it was selling short what we're capable of.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, we are very competent people and we have a lot to offer the world. And a community for $55 with a few dozen or a few hundred people isn't the highest use of what we're capable of. And that's just become very clear to us recently. And so we've gone through just a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of taking a few steps back and be like pivoting a little bit. Is this good for us? Is this the right time? Whatever it may be,
Yeah.
to get to the point where we realize it's time to step in to play bigger games with bigger people.
Yeah.
And that's made us really focus our attention onto now with this newfound lens to grow incredible projects we already have, like Listen Before Love, and other podcasts coming soon, along with other offers and communities and just fun businesses to build and be a part of, creations on a complete different level.
Yeah.
It's like in this game of personal development, in this game of transforming people's lives in all the ways that matter, it's like we're NBA players, but we're still just like playing with the eighth graders.
Right.
You know what I mean?
For no reason.
For no
really.
reason.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah.
And again, life has been like perfect in so many ways, and it's been
Yeah.
incredible, but we've been shooting shots way below our level.
Yeah.
And again, this is when I'm saying this, I don't mean that the quality of the people we're around. I
Oh
mean,
no, they're fantastic.
they're incredible, and they will continue to be a part of what we do probably forever, hopefully. They're amazing. But of our own capacity to serve the world and to impact the world, there are different levels to this game.
Mhm.
And we've learned that so clearly the past handful of months. And I'm really excited to take those steps forward.
Yeah.
And in doing so, we learned so much about, especially for me, when it comes to managing employees and team members, how I want that to look in the future. We've learned so much around managing communities. What is it that we enjoy
Mhm.
as part of that? What is it that we don't enjoy as part of
Right.
that? I swear, I know we said it a million times already in this podcast, but it feels like it was a crash course
Yeah.
for what feels as if a season where we're going to experience an immense amount of growth
Yeah.
in so many different ways. And that starts what feels like with personal growth.
Yeah.
So I've just been, honestly, now looking back at it as I feel like we're transitioning from one season to another, immensely grateful that we gave ourselves a time to pause this, to do a few other things on maintenance mode and cruise control, to really just reflect, to pivot, to really ask ourselves what is aligned with who we are today,
Yeah.
who we're becoming, and what can we build that will align with ourselves as we go upon that journey.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot, though, to say the least. It's been a lot. We've had to re-navigate what it's like to have relationships with family members, with
Yeah.
friends. We've had to realize that everything we're trying to build, it's going to require a new version of ourselves that we aren't yet.
Yeah.
And there are so many different things that go into that when it comes to becoming more disciplined, when it comes to having better boundaries
Yes. Big
around
one.
things. And for me, that's been a mixture of things, whether it's people, whether it's technology, like staying off my phone as much and getting the opinions of others, whatever it may be, and
Yeah.
fear, whatever, politics and all that, just having to really set that down.
Yeah.
And also with certain people that far majority of which we deeply love
Right.
and are incredible assets to our lives, we've also had to realize like, hey, we're on the cusp of doing something really big here. Like, I really believe we can affect millions of people's lives for the better. And in order to do that, it takes pivoting what we are focusing on, where we put our life force energy every single day.
Right.
And sometimes that means having less calls back home to the people we love. Or that means saying see you later or goodbye to friends that, and we all may know a few of them, that don't want us to be more successful than them. It's like they want us to do well, but not if it's going to lead to them reflecting poorly on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so there's been a lot of that going on in our personal lives that I really feel was gearing us up for the transition we're now making to expanding what we're capable of and what we can do for the world to the next level.
Yeah.
So what a time to be alive. Like, that's really a life update. It's been a lot. It's been all good things. I generally feel happier than ever, more at peace
Yeah.
than ever, more aligned, more focused than ever. But it took a lot of times where feeling fearful, feeling angry, feeling sad, feeling shameful, the entire emotions wheel, I feel as if we felt that deeply over the past 2 months.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a big word that Cam said was boundaries. And I think that one very helpful emotion that Cam and I start to notice when something needs to change is frustration. Just a general feeling of like, when I'm avoiding something that I otherwise wouldn't, or I'm avoiding something that like makes no logical sense, I need to look more deeply at that. And that was a huge lesson over the last couple of months. Like there were moments where I didn't logically understand my behaviors, like why I was avoiding going out and working in the group setting. Like why was I having an avoidant energy around that? I now know that when I'm feeling these like unexplainable, illogical feelings, it's trying to tell me something. And I feel like I've known that for a long time, but I haven't known that in a business setting until the last couple of months. And so 2 days ago, when it felt like just such a clean slate, Cam and I sat down. We had, he has in his office a TV as a second monitor to his laptop. So it's like this giant TV. And we pulled up a Google Doc and we were like, let's take a look at every single thing that we have going and make a decision on where to automate stuff, delegate stuff, eliminate stuff, add stuff, remove stuff. What's going on? You know, like let's look at every single area of the business and know what's giving us energy and what's not, what we need to change. And I feel like that's been a huge part of our story the last couple of months. It's like we didn't know that back then, but over the last weeks, it's been building to this lesson of how so important for us to create from that feeling of excitement. And if we're feeling frustrated or feeling avoidant because we're not naturally like that when we're excited, then something needs to change. And if you know a little bit about like our story, and even before I met Cam, I've always been like this. I'm a very consistent person. So, and I'm also very devoted. And so if I commit to something, it takes a lot to get me to drop that commitment. And that's a great quality, but it can also be a double-edged sword when you get into a groove of doing something so many times that you don't take a step back to evaluate, like, is this the right thing for me to keep doing like this? Or should I make changes? Do I need to adjust something to make myself feel better about what's going on? And I'm speaking in generalities here. And so, you know, I always like to bring it more specific. So I'm going to give you an example. So over the last couple of months, I have been trying to implement this RSVP system at the walks that I host here in Austin. And if you know about the walk's history, it's a weekly 5-mile walk for meaningful conversations. I've been hosting it for almost 3 years. There's 146 walks hosted in a row every single week at 8 a.m. on Saturdays. And for the entirety of the walk, while I did experiment quite a bit with it in the beginning, with who I wanted there, the rules, the structure, how long it was going to be, I had a huge experimentation phase. I really got into a groove that I liked and then just said, okay, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm going to keep going and it's going to be exactly as it is. But over the last couple of months, I've been feeling this like frustration. And it was hard for me to put this feeling into words, which is what I'm finding about myself in business and in not really love, because you don't frustrate me at all, which is kind of funny. And if you do, I like say something about it and so do you. So, and that's on healthy communication and expressing micro moments of concern. We can talk about that later.
Walking that walk while we talk
seriously.
that talk. You know
I don't, that's like the one area of my life I'm never frustrated in, which is a huge testament to you. But, you know, when you notice you're frustrated, it's really hard to understand, like, why? Is it fleeting? Does this frustration have staying power? Do I need to do anything with this? Or am I just in a bad mood? And I think, to be honest with you, I gaslight myself about my own frustration a bit. That's what I've been learning the last couple of months is like, I've had so many moments where I've had these strong feelings about like, man, like that's pissing me off. And I just write myself off for some reason. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fleeting. I must not be in a bad mood. Well, I'm on my period, whatever. But then it just never goes away. And so the lesson here for anyone listening is if you notice like a sense of frustration or anger around something going on in your life and it has staying power, it's an intuitive frustration. It's not just a passing, fleeting emotion that just goes in one day and out. If you feel like it keeps coming up, let's look at it and let's maybe make some adjustments. So with the walk specifically, I had noticed and kind of felt into this feeling of frustration and was like, wow, for the last 3 years, even though I absolutely love what I do, I love the community that we've built. I love the commitment, the devotion, the energy that I've been bringing to this space for so long. I feel in some ways like I'm giving, 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 giving into a void. And there's no, from a spiritual lens, like there's no receiving in a way. And this is the best way I can explain this in words. It feels like when you give a lot and you don't understand the impact of what your effort is actually doing, there's this somewhat of an anger and undercurrent of like resentment that starts to build, even though you love what you do. And I think this is something that anybody who builds from the heart can relate to. Anybody who builds community, who has an offer they really love, who's been in business for a long time, who's volunteered with nonprofits. I mean, whatever it is in the way that you give good to the world, you can relate to this feeling of, wow, I'm extending myself so much. I'm being so consistent. I'm bringing my energy no matter how I'm feeling. I make this such a priority. And there's just something about this that is starting to feel imbalanced. And so this started kind of reaching ahead. And I decided, you know what? What solves anger and frustration? Boundaries. Boundaries almost always solve these feelings in interpersonal relationships or communities that you're in. And so I took a hard look and was like, okay, what boundary can I put into place that's not really currently there that will make me feel like there's a receiving function, like I'm actually able to let people know about ways to support me, to be more vocal about how I want to collect testimonials, to put a donation link in the email, let them know about our communities. And so I started doing this RSVP system with an email sent an hour after the walk. That helped so much. That small action of me saying, hey, I'm taking ownership over this. This is my event. RSVPs are now mandatory. I know this is a little awkward for people who have been here, like in some cases over 100 times, who have never really had to do this before. But this is what makes me feel good. Like knowing that you're respecting this space and my energy and my devotion and the effort I put into the 3 hours that the walk is, but also all the way outside of this experience when I'm talking to people, kicking them off the walk, managing the community, keeping the thing going, keeping the spirit of it alive. This small action that you're doing in return by just RSVPing, letting me know you're coming, feeling like I have some level of connection with you that isn't just me hosting an event that anyone can come to and giving into a void. Something about that just made me feel better. But as you know, with boundaries, we can't control how they're received, right? And we talked about that in actually our last episode. So I've had combativeness. I've had some bitterness. I've had some, I'd call it just somewhat of emotional outburst, and some rudeness from people who, it kind of surprised me, took this turn with it. And I can understand, you ask people to do something that they're not used to doing, and there's always growing pains there. I assume it would be the same way for any community, anyone who's done something, gotten used to it, and you're asking them to adopt a new habit. So I have total and complete grace, but I've been trying to be very consistent with this system the last probably, call it 5 weeks. And I've had different levels of anger, combativeness, and all of this. And I've just noticed that me standing firm on my boundaries in this scenario, even if it means that these people no longer join the event, it is what it is. I have to stand firm on the boundaries that make me feel good about what I'm doing. And if I'm not upholding my own boundaries that make me feel fulfilled and me feel excited and poured back into, then I know that I'm going to carry this underlying theme of frustration with me that is going to make me like hit a wall and potentially stop what I'm doing altogether. And I just know my personality, and I think Cam is similar to this too. We are very like all or nothing type people. We don't really live in the middle area of commitment very well. So that's why when we commit to something, it's like, okay, we're going to do this until we die then. See you guys tomorrow. We just have this energy of devotion to what we do. But I also know that if I'm feeling continuously disrespected, then that is going to actually send me in the opposite direction. And so why I'm sharing this is like, this is an example of something that we really had to take a look at. Like, I've been hosting this event for almost 3 years, and it was very open, asking nothing of anyone except for their presence for a long time. And for me to make this move, even though it may seem small, was a huge deal for me. And it's ushering in this new chapter of like me owning my value more, owning the value of my energy, of my time, and how when I've taken the effort to pour my consistency, my energy, my effort, when people tell me all the time, you know, I can never do what you do. I could never show up as consistently as you do, and know that it will grow into this beautiful community of thousands of people, 15,000 who have now attended the walks. They tell me to my face, I can never do what you do. And I know that they're right. And so I need to value the fact that like us showing up so consistently is tremendously valuable. And we talk about this insider baseball between Cam and I all the time. But like, to be honest, when we look out into the field, we're very good at the thing where most people fail, which is being super consistent and having very high retention. Where we struggle is in acquisition because we never talk about what the heck we're doing because we're so busy doing it. And I think that that's like one of the big lessons that Cam and I learned is like, we get so excited about so much and about showing up with so much heart. But in that same situation, there can be a double-edged sword of like, are we overcommitting? Are we overgiving, overextending without really asking anything back? And so we're stepping into this new world where it's like, how do we recalibrate to say, wow, we know deeply and without any question or hesitation, the value that we are bringing to spaces now, the value that everyone has seen this whole time. But like, we haven't really seen this fully. And now from that place, how do we recalibrate everything we're doing? How do we make edits to all of our offers? How do we create new offers from this place of deep knowing and deep resonance of our power and who we truly are and what we can offer people? So that was a long spiel there, but someone need to hear that.
It was all perfect. That's going to resonate with so many people. I think what was actually happening this whole time was we just weren't abiding to the universal law of reciprocity.
We really weren't.
One must give and receive, or else resentment will build.
Exactly.
Or else the thing will fail.
Yeah.
It's not in accordance with the yin and yang of life, that balance.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just something we realize we need to do for everything in our life, especially the free communities and the offers that we have. We need to make sure that if we are giving to the standard of which we set, like you were mentioning before, the websites or the community, everything is top notch. We only put out great things. And I absolutely love that about us. And that's what separates it, because the retention rate is so high because people really enjoy great things and we just only do great things.
Yeah.
Problem is, if we are expending so much energy to make them great, as opposed to just mid or terrible, at the end of the day, we just feel depleted.
Right.
And also, we feel kind of broke. Because if we are, money is just energy, right? And if we're just giving all the time and not allowing for us to properly be receiving,
right,
then there's going to be burnout. There's going to be the end to these incredible communities simply because we don't feel safe in our own environment. We don't feel as if we're being reciprocated properly. And just like especially romantic relationships, I think this is perfect.
Yeah.
Imagine being in a relationship with someone who never affirms you and acknowledges what you do for them.
Right.
And never does anything in return.
Yeah.
Why would you ever be?
Let's get into this.
Let's talk about it.
Because here's one of the big things. And you know, what we're talking about in this conversation is a lot of things that I've actually never said publicly. I feel like I say these things a lot to Cam, but I somewhat judge myself for saying them because I don't want to come across as ungrateful. And I don't want to come across as like not being so overcome with appreciation for the amount of support and love and care that we've gotten from people. And so I think that's what stops me from sharing these things, because I don't ever want the wires to be crossed. But I also realize that if you're someone who's very heartfelt and who's a giver by nature, these are the conversations we're all afraid to have. Like all
Exactly.
givers have this wound where they don't want to make people feel bad.
And let me jump on
Yeah.
this real quick, because one thing we're experiencing right now, and one thing many others are experiencing, is they feel this unequal energy exchange taking place.
Right.
But they look at their life and be like, but everything's still all good.
Right.
You're like, we're not starving. We're not broke by any means.
No, we're totally fine.
We're all good.
We're not broke.
But there's
When you use that word, I was like,
part
LOL.
of like, I mean, our entire lives are dedicated to serving others. If we really think about it, everything we do is creating and connecting and building spaces, having the conversation necessary to move people forward in life. That is how we spend our entire day.
Yeah.
We do very, very little things for ourselves. And if it is, it's simply just self-care and maintenance and recovery to make sure that we can continue doing more.
Yes.
Right? A lot of people are in a relationship, but they're doing something very, very similar. And they're like, well, I have, the mortgage is paid and I have enough for groceries, so I should be fine, right? I'm good. Everything's taken care of. But it isn't, though. Just because all of your needs are taken care of doesn't mean we have to abandon the desire for the wants, especially when we deserve it. And we know in our hearts what we deserve.
Yeah.
And you and I think this is what really has fueled the past few months, now that we're really getting into it, and I'm so glad we're doing this. It is, we did not feel a good reciprocity
for
the things that we do. And so because of that, we needed a time to step back, reflect, pivot, and set new standards for everything we do going forward. Now, one thing is a little bit different. This podcast, other content we put out, this is some of what we call the highest leverage impact we can make. We record this once in 45 minutes, and we set it up, and this can live on the internet and interwebs for centuries going forward and impact potentially millions of people by watching these videos. This is an incredibly high leverage. I'm not feeling any lack of reciprocity here.
Oh yeah, no. And it's fun. We enjoy it.
100%. But there are other friendship relationships in our lives, family relationships in our lives, relationships we have with community members, especially the free ones.
Yep.
And even the ones that are paid. We don't feel as if we are, and again, this is our fault here. We are not allowing ourselves to be receiving to the level of which we've been giving. And whenever there is that difference or that dissonance, in that middle ground comes judgment, resentment, anger, shame, and guilt. And us being good humans and aware humans, we do not want to build resentment around the exact people we're trying to serve. Right? That makes sense.
Right.
And now we're building, I know a lot of people aren't building, communities that are now around the nation and doing a bunch of stuff online, whatever it is, but people can feel this in some aspect of life. There's that one friend, there's that one family member, there's that one coworker, whatever it is, where you just give, and you get nothing back. And sometimes you're required to give. Sometimes it's like your child and you have to take care of them. Or other times it could be a spouse or a coworker or boss, whatever it is. And when you don't feel the reciprocity that oftentimes in this world either comes from affirmation or confirmation, not confirmation, well, confirmation too, but compensation in some way. It doesn't mean they got to give you money, but there needs to be some give and take here. I realized that's just how human life works.
Right.
And my entire life, when I didn't understand that balance, that was the cause of pretty much all my frustration.
Yeah.
And sometimes that meant I was abandoning a part of myself that wasn't allowed to receive. Like all this may be just an inner journey, but a lot of it just stemmed from different relationships I had and different interactions that never felt 50-50. And over time, I built judgment and resentment towards people. And I think we are just feeling that right now. And we realize that if we are going to scale, we can't just be giving the same levels we're giving without actually receiving. And so other than holding back the amount we're giving, we just need to feel comfortable asking to receive. And in this example, especially when it comes to business, asking to receive monetarily or through, hey, can you just write a testimonial? Can you let us know how it was? Any feedback? Can you, and again, for the walk, the simplest shit ever. give us your email, just like every other event already does,
Right.
right? Everywhere else they go,
Right.
that they're already doing that. That is just a little bit more for us to feel the proper reciprocity.
It's like a closed loop. It's like
Exactly.
otherwise it's just like this open loop that leaks.
And I'm gonna go off for a sec. Is that all right?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
There are a certain group of people
Mm.
that fundamentally do not understand about the law of reciprocity. That these are takers. These
Yeah.
are leeches. We've had them in every community that we've built.
It's true.
I've had them in every friend group that I've ever had in my life, every family group. There's always that one. There's always that, I hope to call it the 5-10% of the population. That really are just not only unaware, but even if they are aware, don't care and just want to take.
Right.
Let me tell you something about these people. They're oftentimes the most undesirable person to be around. So I'm a without saying names, especially because this happens all the time, but there's a certain group of people that I've noticed. These are all people, especially on the walks recently, that are the most undesirable men. It's always men, surprisingly enough.
Yep. Not one woman has complained to me about the RSVP.
Not one woman, and also not one desirable man.
Yeah.
What do I mean by desirable man? Someone that is easy and fun to talk to.
Mhm.
Someone that is just enjoyable to be around. You're around them. It's like it's a good vibe.
Right.
A man that we trust. A man that is just, you know that whoever they're dating is lucky.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Not saying you want to be with them, whatever it is, but you just know.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and for some reason, especially with a female host,
That
it's,
part.
and that part's big.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish, again, I run a men's community. I'm all for sticking up with men.
Yeah, so am I.
But the same conversations with the same combativeness they've given you,
Yeah.
I dare you to give to me.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't. But you would give it to a man. You would give it to a woman. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me quite sad to see. But these are men that are just undesirable. They're all chronically single, involuntarily.
Mm-hmm.
They're all definitely not where they want to be when it comes to, I think, income or impact. I think the walks is probably the only place out of their week where they get attention from the opposite sex, who they aren't, let's say, working the same job with, where they're kind of required to work with them. These aren't people that are going to be given a nice little smile and wave and walked up to at the coffee shop, to say the least. These are undesirable men. And this is a big thing. It's not exclusively about how they look or their accents, or it's not about that. It is the energy they give across.
It's energy. Yeah.
It's the energy they give across.
Some of them are not bad looking.
No,
like some
not
of them
at all.
are really not bad looking at all. It's an energy thing.
It's an energy thing. It's a taking. It's a lack. It's a scarcity. And you know what's actually crazy? There are literal automation engineers that can make the process of signing up the email thing on the website for the walks easier.
Mm-hmm.
And are the ones complaining. Other than saying, hey, I saw this little technical error. Do you mind if I help?
Yeah.
The last people to ask for help.
The last people to offer.
Offer help,
They will not offer. Yeah.
To offer help. The first people to point out the problem, and not only point it out, but pointing out in a hateful way. You should do something about this. And good luck with that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what world do these people live in? And then I remember, oh yeah, they live in a completely different reality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they don't have the things they want to have in life. The incredible relationships, attention from the opposite sex, the income and impact they want to make. It's so simple. And I'm so glad to see this in some men because it allows me to understand how to best create communities, especially the ones specifically for men that I run, that make sure that they don't do anything these people are doing. Because these are people that die alone. And so that's hitting it right in the nose, right in the head there. I wasn't expecting to go there on this, first time back life update type of listen
but
before love.
We're being real here.
But we're being raw. We've had a lot of interactions now that we're gaining traction, we're gaining popularity, we're building a bigger audience of people that have been in our personal lives, people that have just attended our events, or random people and strangers that feel obligated to our energy, that feel obligated to our time. And it's taken a toll on us. And the reason for that, again, fully on us, is we've had people-pleasing tendencies our entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And so for anyone, even if it's a completely anonymous person on Twitter, to be hateful or to be like, why are you charging for this? Why you make us do email here? All these other things that are hating on any attempt we make to make it a more equal energy exchange, that is sparking a lot within us because we're shedding the people-pleasingness. It feels like the universe is presenting us with lessons to see how aligned are we around making sure that we actually have the law of reciprocity for everything and everyone we come in contact with. So that has been a huge part of this whole experience, is coming in contact with people that are ruffling our feathers.
Yeah.
And that are being shown to us as we have events for a few hundred people or a few thousand people, whatever it is. So that when we have events for tens of thousands, 100,000, millions, there are the actions and steps in place to contain this in a way that repels and repulses those type of people.
Yes.
And make sure that the energetic exchange taking place feels great for us. Because we do know, I know this especially with my one-on-one clients, that the energy exchange is very good. Law of reciprocity is very, very good.
Yeah.
I have nothing but fantastic feelings of working with them.
Yeah.
I have a great time.
And what are they, every single person you have ever worked with who has paid you thousands of dollars,
tens of thousands,
always said, how can I help you?
At the very end, it's
all
like,
of them.
You above and beyond delivered. How can I help you? They're always on time.
Mm-hmm.
They're always grateful.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I charge, the more of those emphasized take place.
Yeah.
Like they're more on time. They're more grateful. At the very end of every call, they're like, how can I help you this week? Anything you need with business? Anything I can help? Again, let me give you this. Let me give you that. Whatever it may be. They go above and beyond to a level that I've never seen before. And it is fantastic. And so we're like, why would we ever put up with these random trolls on the internet or in real life that aren't helping us in any way?
Yeah.
Just taking from the event. They're
Yeah.
oftentimes the least in the totem pole of desirable people to be around at these events.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we allowing them to take any of our energy?
Yeah.
Period.
Exactly.
And so looking at everything we do, the coaching containers, the courses, the communities, the high ticket offers, everything that we're doing, and be like, where are the leeches and how do we cut them out? And how do we make sure everyone and everything, not saying again, not has to be monetary compensation, but just how can we make sure the energy feels right? And so that has been the big emphasis over the past handful of months for us, because we realize, hold the horses. We gotta chill out. We gotta stop everything for a little bit.
Yeah.
Reconfigure what we're doing with our lives and how we can build this in a way where everything we do, every walk we host, every call we have, we hop off that experience, we hop off that call feeling more energy than when it started.
100%.
We don't need to be drained. We're not meant to be drained. We're literally sparking love, light into these people. Why would that drain us unless it's an unequal energy exchange?
Exactly.
So we've learned that if we're going to make this happen, we need to realign ourselves in all aspects so that we have all the energy necessary to expand the vessel, expand the business to the level of which it deserves, to impact millions of people. And so I'm so grateful for us for taking these few months to ourselves to reflect, to recover, to realign. And I think it's the start of something quite incredible.
I think what's really funny to me is that boundaries are what takes something to a whole new level. And let me go a little deeper on this. I feel that, just speaking for myself, there is a very funny pattern over the last couple of years for me where I will grow something very effortlessly. Like, it's easy for me to attract people to what I do. It's easy for Cam as well. We just have an energy, we have a vitality, we have a passion for what we're doing and saying that makes people be like, what are they on over there and how can I get some? And it comes naturally. It's like, it's not something that you can even teach someone how to do. It's like you either have a zest or you want a zest. And it's really, it'd be like that, okay? And so the attraction thing has been so easy for Cam and I. But here's what's funny. And this is where like spiritual laws like just seem to hold so true. And also just neuroscience in general about what the nervous system can hold. Even though the attraction piece is so easy for me and the retention is so high, you know, the average person who comes to the walk is like 40 times. 40 times people will come to this walk on average. Think about that for a second. That's crazy. The walk's like 2.5 hours. So that's like 80, 90 hours of somebody's life spent at an event. And so I mentioned this just because, like I said, we don't have a retention problem and we don't have really an attraction problem. But why, you might ask, has the walk stayed anywhere from 50 to 100, maybe 120 people and not grown past that? Why has it done that? Because the thought of how it currently is growing larger than that number overwhelms me as the founder and as the host. And if it overwhelms me, I will subconsciously block it from growing because I will put out, this is like deeper, energetic signals that I only want it to be a certain amount of people. And then what does this do? Because this is like a little woo-woo, but I truly have seen this come into play for the last 3 years of evidence. Like, I will never doubt if this is real or not. I know that because of some of this like fear in me about, well, what if 300 people were to come to the walk? There wouldn't be parking. People would be angry. It would be a disaster. It would be a mess. How many circles would we have? How many people will lead the circles? Because my mind goes to fear, that will not happen. That will not happen because you will not get what would overwhelm you. Like you do spiritually, you will not get what would overwhelm you. You might get a little bit past your edge. Now that is what I've built over the last 3 years, right? When I first started hosting the walk number 1 had 8 people there. Now consistently, there's anywhere from, I'd say, average 80. It's like 50 to 100, somewhere in that range is what comes every week. That's a big event. And that's a lot of people to hold space for. But what have I done over the last 3 years? I've expanded my capacity slowly to hold that many people. But if I were to really tell myself, and this is where boundaries come in, all right, now I have all the boundaries in place. If 300 people were to come to this event, I'd be totally fine. I'd be great. I'd be easy. What would I do? How would I act differently than I am today with that level of safety in my body? I would start the Instagram for the walks, which I have never posted on, and it's still private. It has 1,000 follow requests in it. Never even made an attempt to advertise the walk anywhere. It's all been word of mouth. I'd be posting on there. I would be starting the walk newsletter I've been talking about for over a year. I would be starting the podcast I've been talking about for quite a while. I would be acting so differently. And so what is the solution, right? Like really, like look at this. Like, yeah, the walk has grown. It's been tremendous. It's been success despite my fear. Despite my fear, this thing has grown very large. 15,000 people over the last 2 and probably a little. It'll be 3 years in July. So what is that? It's close.
2 and 10 months.
2 and 10 months. It's grown to 15,000 people attending it. People literally flying in from countries to find it. Talked to a guy on the last walk from Finland who was like, I see the tweets. I had to go. I felt the energy. Despite all of my fear to keep it small, it has grown very large. Imagine what would happen if I actually said, I'm ready for it to be massive. What would happen? It would be massive. And I'm just sharing this because I think it's so important for us to realize that like what's true here for me with the walk in business is true for you in relationships. It's true for every area of our life, literally every area of our life. It's true for us in friendships. It's true for us in work. It's true in every area. And this is why I feel so passionately about this right now, because I realize over the last 2 months where my consciousness and the limits in my own energy is creating what is coming to me. And it's not coming from a woo place. I know you hear things like this all the time. I'm saying this as somebody who has watched the patterns diligently for 3 years. Very few people on the planet have the lived experience of hosting something, not inviting anyone for 3 years and seeing what happens. I have that experience. We also both have the shared experience of hosting Great Morning, one of our communities that we do every weekday gratitude call. We've seen the same thing with that. We've seen the same thing with our paid communities. It's undeniable at this point that our limits in our own consciousness, our fear, our overwhelm will keep you capped. And so why do we take the last 2 months off? Because I knew that I was at a cap and I was feeling frustrated. Like I said, that signal of frustration that is so loud for me and lets me know that I'm not in total alignment. I was able to say, you know what? What will solve my frustration? I need to, even though it might make people upset, the people pleasing Cam was talking about, I need to do what's best for me, in me feeling good, in me feeling reciprocated, in me feeling like I can continue to deliver the amount of heart-led service that I have been the last few years. But that service might look different. And I'm giving myself the permission to change and to adapt. So what was that first step for me? It was the RSVP system. Now, let's just use this as an example because this can be applied to relationships. Like we talked about before, just because I set a boundary does not mean that it's like, oh, wow, that was easy. Everybody just complied. That was great. No, of course not. Because people who are used to something being a certain way and not being asked anything of them, like Cam said, there are takers in this world. That's okay. It is what it is. We don't want to change anybody. This is just the fact of the matter is that there are people who are more inclined to take. There are people who are more inclined to give. Okay? These people, because I set this boundary, revealed themselves to me. This is the gift in the whole situation. The gift is that me implementing even the smallest level of this feels good to me boundary revealed who was taking that I knew. Here's the thing about it. These weren't people I was really surprised by. Now I'm going to do some distinct categories because if there were some people who go to the walks listening to this, I want to be clear. There are people who I know were just thrown off because they had never really had to do it before and they've been a lot of times and it was just like, oh, why? And I tell them why and they're like, oh, okay, makes sense. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about the people who have made it their hill to die on to me and have spent so much time telling me why they don't think it's a good idea and why they don't want to do it and why they've outright refused to do it. These are the people I'm talking about. And what I noticed in this group of people is that these are the exact people who I deep down in my feeling, in my intuition, knew that they were taking from the space. But because they had not kicked any of or went against any of my very logical ground rules, I couldn't have removed them, right? These are people on the edge, right? People who they come, neutral impact on the event. They clearly get a lot out of it. But now when they're asked to give, they're not comfortable with it. Oh, red alarm. I don't want to do anything for you. Like, I'm just here to show up to the space and to have the event and to meet people and to have conversations. I don't want to give anything back. These people have now revealed themselves to me. And there aren't that many. I know in some of these cases, we sound very passionate and dramatized. This has been maybe 5 to 10 people, truly. But these 5 to 10 people have been very loud.
They're also actively telling people via social media to not come to the events anymore because of this new boundary put into place.
Yep.
That's where the fire really comes. We're like, you're now going to tell other people not to come because you feel some type of way about
The boundary.
sharing your email about the boundary.
Yep.
That is where it really ruffled some feathers when it comes to us to make sure that everything going forward is aligned with the energy exchange necessary, not only to just feel more reciprocated. And an email is not like it's making us feel reciprocated. We're not, we're not
doing
getting your
anything
credit
with
card
it.
details for
Right.
anything. We're not really doing anything with it, but it is also what's necessary for us to grow. Like, we're going to have events with thousands of people on it. We need
we
waivers.
can't host an event where people aren't signing up just because there's some weird cultural thing that like, oh, I can come and go as I please. Well, let me tell you something else, because this isn't super clear. The people who have a problem with this also don't fully realize and have never asked how many hours of work and continued unpaid labor I have put into making the experience as good as it is for them to enjoy. And I think that there's like a perception block in some of these people where they don't realize how many conversations Cam and I have had to give people social feedback when they are not showing up the best way they can in the space, or outright saying, hey, please don't return, which improves the experience for everybody when these people are coming with the misaligned wrong intentions. On top of that, like Cam said, the liability that we have walking on a very busy trail with 80 people now, but what if that were to grow to 300 people? In no world would we take on that level of risk. And this is exactly going back to like what I talked about with the consciousness limiting your experience. I have to eliminate anything that scares me for this to grow. That's just really what it comes down to, is like, if there is something in my mind that says, oh, but if 300 people come and they don't sign up, what if one of them gets hurt? And now I have to be the one dealing with, okay, well, are you in the hospital? How'd it go? I'm the one running point. What if they end up turning around trying to sue me, right? You're not liable for this. You're just somebody who's coming and attending. And yeah, sure, you may have come many times, but you're not in any way on the hook for this. This all falls on the leadership of the event. And so it's not something that's super relatable for these people. And I understand that it's not where your mind would go. Of course not, you're an attendee. But when we're renegotiating the relationship between, hey, as somebody who is giving and providing this space every week and creating the container off of my energy, the rules and the tone I have set here, this is the social contract. You can either sign it and agree to what feels good to me, or you can find somewhere else or create your own thing, which would be very much welcome. So I just feel that I wanted to emphasize anything that comes into my mind that is a risk, that is scary, that makes me feel like, oh, you know what, I can't do it because this, it's got to go. And so if something as simple as RSVP is the solution, is the boundary, then great. And not just that, but the walk will have to change to accommodate more people. We bought wristbands that will allow for us to just hand out and let people know who RSVP is so that we can have a gut check on that and not just like rely on holding all this in our brain, which is so overwhelming. I don't know if you ever hosted anything. It's a tremendous amount of people. I mean, think about 80 people just walking around. I mean, it's a lot of people. Like, have you ever had 80 people like at an event in your house? Imagine 80 people in your house. Be packed. This is so, it's like we say this number as it's like nonchalant. It's a lot of people. So anyway, I just wanted to go on a tear about that because really at the root of it, all of this passion comes out when somebody not only just is confused and is like, well, why do we have to do this? Okay, fine. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who have continued to berate. This is what it feels like to me, to berate me, to question me, to be hostile towards me, to threaten me with telling people that they shouldn't RSVP, all these things. To me, what that's saying is, first of all, you don't care about my boundary and you don't care about the effort and care that I've put into growing the space the last 3 years. Number two, it tells me you don't want it to grow. That's really what it's telling me at a deep level, is that you don't care about the mission. You don't want it to grow, because if you did, this would be the smallest ask that would also make me feel a lot less fear, that would get me moving on expanding. And I know that this boundary is helping and working because guess what? We're expanding to a third city in North Carolina. And it wasn't until I set that boundary that something in me shifted and said, you know what? I can take on a little bit more. So I know that we went hard on this example, but I really do think there is like this giant lava, like core of the earth amount of energy that I have around this specific situation that I just want to like transmit to people. It's like, it's okay to be passionate about having things exactly the way you want them when you're the creator. Okay? If you're not going to be as passionate about these things, if you're not going to uphold your boundaries, if you're not going to be able to speak about what you want and what you desire with a fervor, nothing's going to happen. Like, that's what it comes down to.
Life won't be worth living.
Like, you're not going to like
excitement.
your life. You're going to hate your life, and everyone's going to walk all over you, and you're going to be resentful. And that's what happens.
And that's why people hate their lives. Let's get to the very bare bones of it.
Right.
It's because there is no law of reciprocity taking place. Everything is taking their husband, their wife, whatever it may be, their job, whatever it may be. It doesn't feel like an equal energy exchange. Therefore, that's why they're always drained. That's why our energy is actually drained. And then from that drainage place, that is when we're attracting lower vibrational things that drains it even more. The food, the alcohol, whatever it may be. So it all stems back to this, back to boundaries. One thing that came up for me as you were saying that was in relationships, one thing that doesn't allow for them to prosper in the way that we'd all like them to is our capacity to hold love.
Yeah.
This is, I think, a problem you and I have had our entire life. We're both big lovers.
Yeah.
We love the person we're with.
Yeah.
Like fully.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, a lot of people can't hold that much love.
Mm-hmm.
And some people can barely hold it all. It's like they're juggling their hands like a hot potato. And that's why they'll put up with behavior that is the opposite of love. So if you're starting from square one, where there's very little love we have for ourselves, and therefore we're attracting people that are showing us very little love, to get from that place to a place where we are fully open-hearted and a place where we are fully loving every aspect of life. We have that zest, like you said. The vehicle to get from the first place to the second place, A to B, is boundaries.
It really is.
It's boundaries. It's boundaries for yourself of what you will and will not do. And it's boundaries for others and how they will interact with you.
Yeah.
And a boundary takes place to set the container for an equal energy exchange to take place because we understand the law of reciprocity. And we understand that if we do not follow it, judgment, hatred, resentment, fear, shame, guilt, all the above, the parts of life that we least enjoy, probably, that's what grows. It's the weeds in the garden when there's not that law of reciprocity. So I am so glad that we sat down and do this. And it's so funny. And I think we've realized one thing for us, and I think for many others, especially creators in general, when we put ourselves in a situation to create, when we get in front of camera to talk, it all just spills. Yeah. It's like we're transmuting the energy. I don't know if you all feel it. You probably did. This was a high level of authenticity from Elle because she was truly expressing her emotions and saying them in such an eloquent way that is a fantastic story that so many will learn from. She's turning trauma, quote unquote, transmuting it, alchemizing it into authenticity and into love by fully expressing yourself. So that was amazing. I love it.
Thank you,
this was huge. This is incredible. And this just reaffirmed, especially after this episode, how important it is for us and how much we implore everyone watching to make sure that boundaries are the priority in our lives. Because again, boundaries are the vehicle that will take us to where we want to go. Now, the whole show is called Listen Before Love. The boundaries are the thing that becomes before the love we want. Boundaries before love. It's perfect. It's perfect. I love it. So I think this is an incredible episode to start. It's episode, what, 26? 27?
Yeah.
Something like that. New chapter. A quarter of 100 in. 25, 26 in. We're starting a new chapter, new season. I'm so excited for what this is going to be. Expect more episodes coming soon. We are feeling ready to step into a higher version of ourselves, a more empowered version of ourselves, a more unconditionally loving version of ourselves. And we're so excited to share that with y'all.
Yeah. And we're taking you guys with us on this beautiful journey.
Every step.
Yeah. The
Every
wave
step.
it's so fun. I'm really glad we sat down and talked about this. And I think that let this be a sign or an inspiration that if there's an area of your life that you're feeling angry or frustrated by, you can make a change. Only you can. You can pivot with permission. You can make edits. You can implement new rules. Like, you're creating the game. So what are the rules? What rules feel good to you? Do we want to add? Do we want to remove? What's going on? Let this be your sign to like really sit down and audit the life that you have today and decide what you want to see more of and less of. Like, that's where we really start to get somewhere. So we love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. As you know, you can find us a bunch of different places. We'll put all the links below, but we'd love to see you in all of the fun, wacky adventures that we have going on. And I want to close it out by just saying how grateful I am for everyone. I know that I expressed a lot of how I was truly feeling and a lot of my frustration. And I say this with all love, and I know Cam does too. It's just truth. And so you guys will always get the straight truth from us. We're not going to sugarcoat it. We're going to say how we feel, and we want you to do the same. So thank you guys for being here. We love you so much. If you took away anything from this episode, please let us know. I would love to hear that.
Please subscribe on the
Yes!
platform necessary. Please follow. Please comment.
It all
That's
helps
the
so
way
much.
that can help our energy exchange here to help us
Yes.
grow, to make sure that this reaches everyone who's meant to see it.
Thank you guys.
So,
we love you
Thank
so
y'all for
much.
everything. Love y'all so much.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
See you later.